The truth about why men leave women. Today, I'm going to talk about the real reason why men leave women. This is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but it's time for the truth to be revealed. A lot of people blame feminism or society, but the root of the problem actually lies within women themselves. So if you're interested in finding out why men really do leave women, then stick around because I'm going to break it all down for you. I want to discuss the causes of men's flight from the workforce and their subsequent migration to MGTOW, which has far-reaching consequences for men, women, and society. Possibly not as much as you think, at least not with the ladies. That's what I want to talk about now. It's a fact that it costs more money to help women succeed in these fields than they bring in. The damage this is doing to civilization is apparent, and things cannot continue in their current state. But before we get into the specifics, let's look at the bigger picture and see what's going on. Women have stepped up to fill these roles because fewer men are starting families or launching careers because they feel unprepared to do so. Also, men aren't trying to start families, so they aren't on the lookout for women to settle down with. However, males who are discontent with their lives do not always lack the potential for success. This is not the case in all parts of Western culture. Considering how much media I take in and how much thought I give to it, this isn't just a few minor isolated incidents. Most men who support the manufacturing sector have abandoned us, leaving us to fend for ourselves. There are those among you who, upon hearing this, will immediately respond by arguing that manufacturing jobs are unimportant and that high-paying office jobs are much more vital. Your actual tax base comprises manufactured goods, the labor of the manufacturing class, and the genuine families who help support those workers financially. However, the office setting is ideal for the solitary worker. I hate to break it to you, but men don't make good office workers. But if you want to keep your office job and reach that goal, you'll have to act symptomatically and take the total dose of the beta blue pill, no matter how talented you are. Your innate masculinity will have to be suppressed. In case you don't think it will escalate to that point. You won't be able to take the necessary steps if you refuse to accept the possibility that things will deteriorate to that point. If men were doing the work, you would see older men already there, so you know what has happened. We all know women aren't as competent in such endeavors as men. On the other hand, the work is not done by men. Although this may seem like an odd way to put it, you are aware that the males are forced to abandon their hunting grounds. It's a situation that occurs naturally and at the most fundamental level. For the reasons I've already stated, this isn't an isolated phenomenon. Instead, it's a phenomenon shared by all Western cultures, even though these cultures don't have population growth rates sufficient to sustain themselves. This means that women thrive in the workplace and can achieve equality by complaining about one of men. Women feel more confident about their sexuality on the job as a direct result of this man's attitude or how he makes them feel. That's how much we, as a society, bend over backward to accommodate women's desires, concerns, and opinions, specifically in a workplace where the completion of tasks takes a back seat to more important matters. It's the same with your health. And if things keep going the way they are, you can just project it outward and be fine. We can put our money to use in this way, and so can you. With the new policies, more men are choosing to stay home instead of going to work. Hopefully, some of them will find success on their terms by developing their industries and launching their businesses. Let me explain how this also occurs in our educational system. They are drugged and made to feel ashamed, and their performance is evaluated based on how well they submit and follow the rules. Preschools are kicking out boys, and men are being kicked out of classrooms. Boys face socialization and stigma for no reason other than being male. I'm sorry to put it that way. These are not characteristics of men or healthy young men. Please let me know if I came across as insensitive. It's like picking on the fittest boys in the class because they all act the same way. Because of this, you are throwing away your youth and your ability to make an impact. We set the standard for teaching young men to behave submissively and ignorantly toward women. It's revolting and made worse because all the men also cave into the woman. Therefore, it's as if society is under siege, and everybody has to tread carefully. The educational system is taken over by women who demonize boys, do not teach mathematics, and want to give grades for things like sitting still. Think about how well a little kid follows directions. That's it, guys. That's all there is to it if you want to get married and have kids. Let's say you have a son that is excellent at keeping quiet and doing what he's told. Since you are familiar with his knowledge in this area, you must agree that this is progress. However, men aren't overly interested in the justice system, so that's where we'll focus. You risk going to jail if you don't pay, so maybe you shouldn't bother. This appears to be the only country in which men can go to jail for failing to provide for a woman financially for the rest of her life if they do not settle down with her and start a family. That's something to think about for a second, because I know at least some of you have the same thought. So, it sounds like you've decided to take the next step in your quest for love and commit to a serious relationship with a woman. You may be a parent who has decided it's best for everyone to part ways. Expenses related to the child's upbringing are not something you plan on shouldering. You can provide. That settles the matter, period. Unfortunately, there was a divorce, and because of that, you have a responsibility. You should be the one providing for your child and her own needs, which will cost you $1,200 per month. Is that right? And do you realize that you will be unable to finish the job due to financial constraints? This means that you will have to limit your monthly expenses to $1,200 for the time being. If that's the case, you're going to prison. Yes, but you're seriously going to jail for this. Suppose you get what I'm saying. If so many other men decline to participate, what could convince a man to do so? She can divorce him without reason, take his kids, inherit everything he's worked for, ruin his reputation, and force him to spend the rest of his life in jail or pay for her medical care. He doesn't care about many things, so you already know that men are helpless victims of their biology, their submission to women, and women's willingness to control men through sexuality. They don't care about most things, so they have no idea what's happening. All they want to know is if they can get a yes from you, honey, and a yes from you when they ask if they can have sexual relations with you. You are well aware that you have provided lavish rewards for these spoiled princesses who think they are better than everyone else. A privileged class that despises and shames those who support them has designed our entire system to serve their needs. Instead of focusing on improving productivity or building for the future, we are more concerned with meeting the needs of this demographic. I don't think you'd accuse me of being aggressive or racist if I said this. But if that's the case, would you subject decent men to a procedure in which they're told they're not adequate, and a response from them is expected? This is how things stand right now in the media sector. If that's all they're doing, they're spreading smears about people just because they disagree with our government's policies. If you disagree with us, we'll smear your name just as much as if you did. For this reason, this is the justification for their behavior. Good men are fleeing a place that promotes only negative behaviors, especially among women. And if a man is raised in the system as a young man, and he wants to get ahead and get to know the ladies, he will probably do the following to achieve his goals, which is the challenge that men face. This clarifies why they are becoming increasingly isolated. It's human nature, graved in his way of life, and I can't say whether what's happening here is deliberate or malicious. I can't decide if this is an attack on men or good nature. As I've mentioned earlier, one of his goals in life is to be of service to the women in his life. He hopes always to be dependable and faithful to his loved ones. You show him it is right to help the helpless and teach him to care for women. You condemn the powerless for not always stepping up to the plate, even though he is not your servant. It's possible that he won't always follow your directions to the letter. You know that it's ridiculous to assume that a man won't do what's expected of him if you don't mention it. A biological difference between men contributes to their unequal treatment in society. He must hold the door open for the spoiled princess manipulating and lying to him if he follows her, and he must accept her right rather than complain about them. He must pay taxes for people who do not even call the country where he resides home, even if he is in perfect health and has never seen a doctor. Since this alternative deal would be worse for the man, they have decided to abandon it. Putting him in jail is an option if they refuse to do as you say. But wait, aren't we already doing that? You can also begin training men at a very young age, and giving them drugs as kids could be a way to force them to comply. He'll have to file for bankruptcy as a result. He loses money either way, and you get to eat the food that he labored to provide for his loved ones and bestow it upon a person who is not a native of that country. Someone dislikes him, takes the blame for everything, wants many children and will raise them all to do as well as he does, and wants to teach them the same thing. If he disagrees with you, it's like telling him he's a horrible man who can't have any fun. Put it bluntly, you're a failure because you're a man. That's what we've been doing. You may use the press, the arts, the church, and the state to spread these cruel ideas. They are anti-human and anti-productive in addition to being anti-male. As a result, more and more men are choosing not to participate, necessitating the presence of MGTOW courses designed to impart not just topic-specific knowledge but also the overarching philosophy behind it to male students. Check the rest of my video to learn more about feminists and their wicked plans.